Hey friends, we're back with more episodes. I hope you had a great holiday season, a great start to the new year. And this week's episode, we're going to get into one of the most common topics, consistency. And we're going to cover 3 reasons you're probably struggling with fasting consistently. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast, where we will explore how a simplified practice of fasting can positively influence your entire body, mind, and lifestyle, helping you live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. Hi, I'm Vicky, and I'm your passionate fasting support coach. With fasting as a lifestyle tool, I've shed over 200 pounds and kept it off without any surgery, diet fads, or gimmicks. And I am confident you can also achieve all your goals with this powerful lifestyle tool. If you're ready to tap into history's oldest healing modality for yourself, I encourage you to check out my services at thefastingfocusedlifestyle.com. I appreciate you for joining me on this week's episode, and I look forward to sharing some valuable fasting support with you after this short ad break. Thank you. Hey friend, thank you again for joining, and I appreciate your patience while I had this much needed breakaway from podcasting. So this week's episode, we're going to talk about 3 big reasons why you are probably struggling with consistency in your fasting journey. So the first one I want to cover with you is that you're probably seeing fasting as a diet. I say this with finger quotes, quote unquote diet, instead of a very powerful lifestyle tool, as I really like to call it, a lifestyle tool for health and balance, for everything, for, overall health and wellness from head to toe. And before we get into it, like diet as a side note, if you're seeing fasting or have ever said, I'm doing a fasting diet, I want to challenge you first to maybe think about, instead of seeing diet as a cultural way of, statically trying to lose weight to get healthy, think of diet simply as a way of eating, just a method of just a choices, your diet as a style, a way of eating, of food choices, right? Instead of a limiting sort of restrictive sense. So that's actually a good kind of peekaboo step into this topic here. So like many other people around the world, not just in the United States, have had many failed diet attempts because we see this as this cultural expectation and method process that we have to plug into this static formula, this one-size-fits-all kind of rhetoric, whether it's doing a ketogenic and Atkins, Weight Watchers, some kind of product, some kind of gimmicky thing as a one-size-fits-all. Maybe you feel like you have to count calories. Maybe you feel like you have to plug into this program of doing this food lists and measuring and counting and this food, product or whatever. To me, I feel like the more simple we can make this process, the less failed attempts you're going to have in your method, in your attempts in balancing your overall health and wellness. This attachment that we have in our culture with getting healthy and losing weight entirely is so, to me, it's such a vain approach in bettering our health. And when we see it as this way of getting to a smaller weight, getting to a smaller number, getting to a smaller clothing size, it really detaches and cheapens the overall experience, I feel, of what makes fasting so powerful. Because to me, I feel like we shouldn't underestimate the true, real power of letting yourself enjoy this process. I think there's something really magical about letting yourself come into each and every single day in your fasting journey with letting yourself get curious and thinking in an open-minded, exploratory sort of mindset to where you're looking forward to ways that you can challenge yourself and grow with each and every single day. And whether that means looking for ways to challenge yourself a little bit more than the day previous, maybe experimenting with different foods and combinations and different times of the year and seasonal vegetables and fruits that you're excited or you really like trying and cooking and preparing, or maybe you're going to explore and travel to different parts of the country or the world to where you want to try different food combinations. I think we do ourselves a big disservice when we think that it has to be this torture-filled, regimented, limited kind of journey and experience. And the more open-minded and curious and excited and attaching that element of fun truly on our journey, the more time that we spend on this, the more beneficial and permanent that it can feel, allowing you to stay consistent. So that compiles on top of this feeling and excitement. So it becomes something that you get to look forward to each and every single day instead of something that you have to do. Because I don't know about you, but I know there are many other previous attempts before coming into fasting. I didn't look forward to having to choose from a limited food list and thinking painfully on how to prepare these food items. Like, for example, there was this, oh my gosh, the different types of different ways to prepare cauliflower, like making cauliflower rice and cauliflower mashed potatoes. And there was this other type of starchy thing that was a substitute for potatoes. Like, y'all, I've told many folks that I've consulted along the way and along the years now that I have had potatoes throughout my entire weight loss journey. And did I have potatoes fried like French fries every single night? No. But I think there's ways that you can make and integrate the foods that you like into this lifestyle, into this process, and not to feel like you have to stick to a list, or not to feel like you have to stick to a workout regime, a very punishment kind of mentality. And I feel like I said, when you attach this element of fun, and for folks that have listened to the podcast episodes before, when you've heard me talk about that reference to Mary Poppins, if you've seen the first Mary Poppins with Julie Andrews, where she has the part in the nursery and she's talking to the kids about when you have an element of fun, it makes, oh my gosh, what is that quote? It's like, in every task that must be done, there is an element of fun. So you find the fun and snap, the job's a game. So I truly feel like the more excitement, get weird, have fun with it, the more fun and enjoyment that you can have in this lifestyle, in this process of repairing your health from head to toe, the better things will be for your experience. Time flies when you're having fun, right? That's a cliche for a reason. So diets typically, quote unquote, diets, conventional diets aren't typically fun. So I firmly believe this method, this lifestyle, this tool can be made a fun and enjoyable experience. I truly, truly believe that. So first thing, I want to encourage you to see diet, first off, as a way of eating, but see fasting as a very, very powerful lifestyle tool for your health and overall balance and wellness, stability, and restoration, healing from inside out and from head to toe, from all around. Like, I'm going to put my hippie hat on, like I'm going to get weird with it. And I want you to feel comfortable to get weird with it too. Even if you feel not as comfortable in the beginning, let yourself get curious. Let yourself get excited along this journey, little bit by little bit, day by day, moment by moment. Take inventory, take accountability for yourself as much as possible, even if it's just moment to moment, because you will see over time that this becomes so much more meaningful and significant the more you attach that element of enjoyment and happiness and detachment from rigid, limited punishment, diet, fixation, feeling on your journey. The second reason you're probably struggling with consistency in your fasting journey is you might not know enough about why and how fasting is the most effective way to balance your health and wellness. And many have heard me talk about this before. If you've heard previous episodes, I do advocate for knowing about your process, about your method, and getting excited about it, as we've previously discussed in this episode. And I do like to also mention, as I have many times before, although I do recommend to know about your process and how this works, you don't need to go full nerd, but I think there is some benefit to that does contribute to that first reason that we discussed. But I would advocate for you to familiarize yourself on how the body works with being in a fasted state. So in a brief Reader's Digest kind of version rundown, when you're in that fasted state, you're teaching your body to tap at your stored fuel. Fat stores on your body is nothing negative. It's nothing to beat yourself up about. It's nothing to talk down or think negatively. I want you to think about the stored bodily fuel, the body fat on you, adipose tissue, whatever you want to call it. Stored body fat is just body energy that your body has brilliantly, intelligently stored aside for later in those times of previous overconsumption. So throughout the years, if you've been a lifelong emotional eater like I was, and I know there's many out there that I support and consult that are also emotional eaters that have just leaned into overeating in times of emotional imbalances, stressors, excitements, ups, downs, ins, outs of being able to manage these emotions and seeing food as a pacifier, really. I've been there. I know that. Over time, the body has intelligently learned without any emotional attachment. The body has learned the overconsumption in those times over the years. The body knows I am storing this excess bodily energy because of the overconsumption. I'm storing it. They're communicating that we need to store this energy for later. And consuming more and more and more over the years, yes, you have stretched out your stomach, but the stomach is a muscle. It can shrink back down, even though it has stretched out. Setting your body in an environment habitually, every day, consistently, you're communicating and teaching your body in that habit. As they say, it takes about 21 days, about 3 weeks to make a habit, right? You are teaching your body by showing up and getting into a fasted state, whether you start out 16-8 and you progress, you dial up, you dial back. That intensity should fluctuate and increase, and it should dial back. Like, you should fluctuate, but can stay consistent, but, be something that you can modify and adjust each day. The more consistent you are, you're teaching your body to tap at that stored bodily energy to burn and use. By doing that, you're setting the environment right for your body to use the fuel that it has intelligently stored for later. You're setting the environment. You're allowing that bodily rest. You're communicating to your body, I know that my body has stored excess energy for later. You are communicating to your body, now it is later. And although many people feel that they have to do a ketogenic way of eating in order to be successful, with that daily consistency, no matter the method, even if it's a 16-8 for multiple weeks at a time, you are going to allow yourself to learn that habit. Your body will learn that habit of getting into that fasted state and being able to utilize the stored bodily resources for energy. And with that consistency, you're going to notice so many other bodily changes that will happen consequently just as a result of being consistent. So like you're going to start to notice your taste buds changing, and the foods that you thought were your vices that you felt compelled to have all the time, they're probably not going to taste as great. You're going to start to notice other things in your body. You're probably going to start to notice more energy. You're probably going to start to notice that you're sleeping a lot better. Even your quality of your skin and hair might start to grow a little bit quicker. All these things happen and can continue to happen. And it's going to vary from person to person because of our metabolisms and because of our hormones. And if you want to go a little bit more into more detail on that, there's lots of additional resources like Dr. Fung's book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, and additionally his book, The Obesity Code, are great resources if you're interested in going a little bit further on that. And actually he does audiobooks on both of those as well. So whatever your choice is, I would honestly highly recommend, if you're wanting to really get yourself as knowledgeable in this process as possible, But truly, like what I advocate for when I consult with folks, and even a very frequent topic in my support club that I talk about a lot, is reaching the point of fat adaptation. And this fat adaptation only will come with consistency. And honestly, reaching fat adaptation should be the goal. It shouldn't be getting to a point of ketosis, because ketosis, if you're familiar with the verbiage and, the short-term metabolic state of being in ketosis, ketosis is a short-term metabolic state. And when you're consistent with fasting, honestly, fasting is going to be way more powerful, way more effective than doing keto. And I have a whole episode that talks about why you don't need to do keto. And honestly, keto works, yeah, but it should not be something that you do long term. And keto only works because it's fasting mimicking. And to me, that's like the cheapy kind of bootleg version of fasting, because you're going to have all those unwanted side effects. Those diet culture kind of side effects. And those are horrible. And I've experienced them before, like massive hair loss, keto flu symptoms and stuff. And honestly, who wants the restrictive keto food lists? For somebody that loves potatoes like me, like no way, absolutely no way. Sticking with a daily fasting, consistent practice of fasting to me meant I could integrate things that I loved and still have full bodily healing from head to toe and inside out. And I was still obviously able to reach that level of fat adaptation. And truly, when you get to that point of being fat adapted, if you're checking in with yourself every single day on this journey, even if it feels disingenuous, even if you feel like you're half-assing it and you're not doing it properly, once you get to that point where you're about 4, maybe 5 or 6 weeks into it, and it's again going to depend on the person. Sometimes metabolism, hormones are going to vary from person to person. You will know, if you're checking in with yourself daily, you're going to know once you reach that level of fat adaptation, things are going to start to feel a lot easier to stay the course. It's going to feel like the veil has lifted. It almost similarly, it reminds me a lot of like the movie The Wizard of Oz, when they peek behind and they see the guy behind the green curtain, and you start to have everything kind of it becomes so much more meaningful, and your reason why feels so much more significant, and things become a lot easier and more meaningful and easier to stay the course, easier to go easier to do a longer duration of fasts. Maybe you get to that point where you're able to do like multiple days of fasting if that's what you're wanting to try. And honestly, as a side note, I would never recommend any 24-hour fast plus until you get to that point of fat adaptation, because of how many bodily signs and signals that will happen within the body if you push yourself too hard, too fast, too soon. So truly getting to that point of fat adaptation is the optimal place to go, to aim for when you're working at getting consistent in this lifestyle. That's what I recommend folks to strive for. And again, not in an obsessive sense or whatever, but if you're consistent, you're going to get there. Even if you are starting at 16.8 and you only, increase to like 18.6, and maybe you have like a couple days or so that you're doing like a 20-hour fast, and maybe you try an OMAD one day, but you're wiggling between 18.6 and a 24, you're going to get to fat adaptation. If you're consistent every single day, you will get to fat adaptation with consistency. I promise you. And once you get to fat adaptation, it's going to feel so much better. It's going to feel like you've got the wind beneath your wings, so to speak. And again, yes, I'm going to get hippy dippy about it, because that's how passionate and true, like I feel so passionate about getting folks to that point of fat adaptation, because that's when things can radically change for your journey for the better. So get to fat adaptation. That should be your goal. And the third reason you're probably struggling with being consistent in your fasting journey is kind of an uncomfortable one, but I'm going to say it because I believe in tough love, because I'm a military brat. So you're probably struggling with consistency because you don't actually want to change the habits you have at this moment in your life. And yeah, it's tough love, but you're not going to live forever. We're not going to live forever. Neither am I. But I'm going to tell you, time will pass whether you take action or not. So I want you to know that even the smallest bit of action in the right direction is better than not taking any action at all. As humans, we're creatures of habits, and I know many of the vices that I had before coming into this lifestyle of practicing fasting consistently every day now for over 6 years. I don't feel as attached to different things and food choices, honestly, and feeling compelled to have just an insane consumption of sweets and snacks. It doesn't motivate me as much as seeing and feeling how my body is able to really feel its best with the type of food that I just crave and prefer now, with being predominantly plant-based. And yes, I would always want to make sure folks feel as comfortable and empowered by the food choices that they have. And I never want to recommend folks stick to like this restricted food list. And I encourage folks to think about like food in a sometimes versus all the time thing. So I feel like when we come into this lifestyle, as I've said many times and right from the beginning, coming into this lifestyle, it's so much more important to focus on adherence and consistency with a fasting practice as your focus, obviously the fasting focused lifestyle, instead of attaching a fixation on a food list or an obsessive workout schedule or anything like that, because keeping things as simple as possible is going to be most beneficial for you long term. And it's going to help you to stay consistent the more simple we can keep this approach. And if that means that you're only changing 1 or 2 things a time per week, per month, that's fine. So long as that the more you simplify this, the more you're able to stay consistent in your efforts. And I truly feel that along this process, you should allow yourself to be open. As I said earlier in this episode, allow yourself to be open and welcoming these modifications and challenges and changes that will come along the way. And knowing that it's not just about losing weight. It's not about just increasing your activity. It's not about changing your food or restricting your food or any of that stuff. Like, you're going to notice so much profound change inside out, head to toe, and to be willing and open to challenge what your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs were before even being consistent. And I'm feeling myself getting choked up now because like so much of weight loss approach, like this approach to weight loss in general, has so much of an attachment to making us feel like we have to think poorly of ourselves and seeing ourselves as broken, busted, in order to even start to put ourselves into this practice and method of improving our health. Like, we have to see ourselves as busted and broken in order for us to take proactive change or to be in this hard position of life and death. And I want to encourage you to think about why you're doing this and seeing it as you're making these choices because you love yourself, because you believe in yourself, because you want better for yourself, and seeing it as a place of positive growth and encouragement, even if it feels slightly disingenuous right now. Like, making this practice of fasting something that is a part of you in such a complimentary, empowering, encouraging sort of way enhances your reason why, enhances every single thing in your life. If you let it, it has this transformative kind of rippling effect. And I've said this before in different formats, but I feel like once you make fasting a consistent and non-negotiable in your life, you're going to see and feel the power of it. And it will change radically so many things in your life if you let it. To me, having this as a consistent fasting, having this as a consistent habit, my non-negotiable every single day, this has become my ticket to live. Like, it's become so much more than just reaching the lowest weight and clothing size that I've ever been at, ever, as an adult, ever. It's more than that. It is so much more than that, because I see myself so much in a better place than where I was over 6 years ago before I started fasting. The headspace that I have, the way that I think about life in general, completely different. And this is something that I want for every single person who wants it for themselves. You have to want this like the air you breathe, like the life you live. If you want a ticket to live, like this can be such a transformative experience for you if you want it to. And I feel myself tearing up because I know there are so many other people that struggle and that just want to be at a healthier weight. And I wish, I wish I could just give all of this empowering that I give to you in this podcast episode. If I could just give it to you in a pill, I would. But it doesn't come like that. It doesn't come like that at all. It comes from showing up for yourself every single day, believing in yourself when times are hard, when things are challenging, when losses in life happens, whether physical, person, whatever. When the challenges arise, how do you handle them? What do you do? How does your mindset react? What is your response? What do you say? What do you feel? What does that rippling effect cause in the rest of your life? All of this can be affected positively when you are consistent with fasting. Yeah, it can. Believe me. Please believe me, it can. Such transformational change, inside out and head to toe. Because I promise you, when you step out of your comfort zone and you allow for this transformative change to happen, this is where the growth happens. If you want something that you've never had, if you've never been at a healthy weight like I was, you have to be willing to do what you have never done. That's deep. Think about that for a moment. I was a consistent emotional eater, eating from sunup to sundown at every opportunity. And the simplest, most challenging thing, the simplest yet most challenging thing was just to limit the frequency of how often I was eating every single day with fasting, a practice of fasting, allowing your body to consistently practice a time every single day of just not eating as often to start, allowing those subsequent changes to happen with improvements in your diet and way of eating, improvements in your physical activity, improvements in other things, and so on and so forth. Let those come later. Let those come after you've got yourself habitually showing up for yourself and allowing that bodily rest to happen each and every day. Understand the value, understand the process that happens inside your body, and that rest that you're giving your body is powerful. Understand the deep, deep, deep cellular cleaning that is happening. Understand the restoration in that mind-body connection and the verbiage that's fixing in your mind. The relationship you have with food, all that fixes over time when you're showing up for yourself every single day because you're worth it. You can do this. And like I truly always say, and I mean with a huge hug that I'm giving you right now, I'm telling you and I'm hugging you right now and I'm reminding you, I believe in you. You can do this. You really, truly can do this. I believe in you. Even if you don't, please know this. I want every single person listening to this podcast right now, I want you to know how capable you are. You are so wildly capable of being successful. Show up for yourself. If you feel that you are in need of supportive coaching on your fasting journey, I'm here. I care. I want you to be successful, and I know you can do it. If you're in need of support on your fasting journey, I'm here. I care. And I encourage you to check out thefastingfocuslifestyle.com for options to get fasting support, including on how you can join the Fasting Support Club. Again, as always, I believe in you, even if you don't. Go get your after. Take care of yourself. Bye. The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2025. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.